play some video games. So here I got the games from the Super Smash Bros. Trilogy. Trilogy. Holy shit! There's a 4th game coming out! Yeah! Tomorrow, in fact! For 6 years we've been calling it the Super Smash Bros. Trilogy! But today is gonna be the last day we're gonna call it. Oh, for 15 years, a franchise that I love so much. And they're celebrating it with a 4th installment. Oh, yes, it's the 15th anniversary of the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. And what better perfect time is to make a brand new game. So, and I think it's time for another marathon. I'm going to take a look at all the installments of the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. Yes, including the 2 latest ones on the 3DS and the Wii U. Well, I'm so excited, but let's get this out of the way. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Super Smash Bros. Marathon. So here we are with the one that started it all. It's hard to believe that this is the same copy I've had since it was originally released. Now before we get started with this review, let's take a look at the origins of the entire franchise. Back in the 90s, I'm focused on this guy, Masahiro Sakurai of HAL Laboratory. He was thinking of an idea of a different kind of fighting game that everyone can pick up and play, because at that time, fighting games were not selling well. For those of you who don't know, Sakurai is the guy who created Kirby's Dream Land on the Game Boy, a game I previously reviewed at the time because I felt like it. It's still a fun game to play, and I do recommend it. Anyway, at that time, when Sakurai was creating the game, he was originally supposed to call it Kakuto Gimo Ryowa. My apologies if I did mispronounce that. It's better known as Dragon King the Fighting Game, and it was supposed to be developed for the Super Nintendo. These early beta pictures shows the early development of the Smash Bros. Franchise, and I see why this version didn't go through. So development moved later on to the Nintendo 64 to work on the games with a 4-player adaptation for the console. Sakurai decided to add famous Nintendo characters in the game. Even though he didn't get permission yet, it later got improved and turned into the franchise we all know as Super Smash Bros., released in 1999 for the Nintendo 64. Needless to say, this is the first fighting game I've ever played because the Nintendo 64 was my first console at the time. I still remember the commercial that was aired on TV. Mario, Donkey Kong, Yoshi, and Pikachu were frolicking in the meadow with the turtles so happy together until Mario tripped Yoshi and then chaos ensues. This commercial is a staple to the franchise and I will always remember this piece of nostalgia.
Introducing Super Smash Bros., where all your favorite characters go toe-to-toe in one 4-player star-studded slam fest, only on Nintendo 64.
Now it's time for the review, and keep in mind, I'm going to go in depth with these reviews, so don't expect these to be half-assed. Upon popping in the cartridge, we get the game's opening cutscene, and it's awesome! A floating hand, which is supposed to represent you to be exact, picks up one of the characters, sets up a stage as a battle stage for some reason, and then he snaps his fingers and turns into Whomp's Fortress from Mario 64. This intro was great to get you pumped up for the game. Now, this begs the question, does this game have a plot? Not really. The other fighting games I played always have a story, but not in Super Smash Bros., and I have nothing to complain about this. The gameplay is the main focus here, so let's talk about it. You move your character with the joystick. Yes, I said the joystick. You think you can use the D-pad? Ha ha ha! Go figure. Here's a pop quiz. Count how many games on the Nintendo 64 uses the D-pad. Yeah, go figure. Anyway, tilting left or right slightly allows you to slowly move. Flick it fast can make you run, and it's important in time modes. Holding down makes your character duck down. Flicking the joystick up or using the C-pad makes your character jump. Pressing it twice, you can do a double jump. The A button is your regular attacks and smash attacks. The B button is the special moves that goes with the character. Pressing Z lets you grab your opponents and let you throw them off the stage. The R button activates the shield to block attacks, but don't use it too much or... yeah, that. And last, the L button can let you taunt your opponents just for some laughs. These are some basic controls for you to pick up and play. The N64 controller can be weird, but I don't care! I got used to this beast when I was a kid, and I'm not saying anything negative about this. There's only small options to choose from because of memory limitations. I mean, this is before the GameCube when Nintendo uses optical discs instead of cartridges. Before we talk about this, let's talk about the characters. Each fighter is represented by a different Nintendo franchise. This is a small roster, but it isn't until later when the franchise expands with more fighters. I'll cut this one short and say that Mario, Link, Yoshi, and Samus are my favorite characters to play as. All I have to say is that they have the right balance to keep me playing. In tradition in fighting games, there's also unlockable fighters, and these characters can get unlocked by performing a simple task. By doing them correctly, you can unlock Mario's brother Luigi, Captain Falcon from F-Zero, Ness from Earthbound, and Jigglypuff. Okay, I'm just gonna beat up the dead horse and make this clear that Jigglypuff is best known as the Joe character to this game. Why is she in the game? Well, because she's easily programmed thanks to Kirby. As if you think the worthless thing you ever known can actually fight, and Jigglypuff is one of them. Look at this character, it's so pathetic. I am really upset about this. So yeah, I'm calling Jigglypuff the joke character because that's what she is, a joke character. And this is gonna be a thing for the marathon, to clarify who is the joke character in each game. Now, out of all the characters in the original Smash Bros., Captain Falcon never left his vehicle throughout his entire game franchise. And in this game, they gave him the most badass move of all time!
Welcome!
No joke, holy shit. So for single player, we have the one player mode, which is an old school arcade mode that you can fight a one-on-one battle with a certain character, maybe fight 18 Yoshis at once, a giant Donkey Kong, Kirby's with abilities of the fighters, both of the Mario Brothers, Metal Mario from Mario 64, which is an awesome idea, defeating rejects of the fighters on the battlefield, and finish it off with Master Hand, who has become the standard boss of the game. Unlike other fights, you have to knock his HP down to 0, like in every traditional fighting game. But this is the only time you'll ever get to do it, which will later become Stamina Mode. All of the characters have special moves that correspond to the series of games they're in, like Mario shoots his fireballs, Pikachu uses electric attacks, Kirby using his copy ability, Link using his weapons like the boomerang, the Master Sword, and bombs, and Samus also using her weapons from Metroid to Super Metroid, like the Power Shot, the Charge Beam, the Grapple Beam, the Morph Ball Bombs, High Jump Boot, Space Jump, and the Screw Attack. Seriously? In here too? Oh, this is driving me crazy! Okay, single player is fine after all, but let's take a look at the reason why we go back to this game. The multiplayer. This is the main reason to go back to this game. Gathering your friends up to a 4-player match to the death. Now, throughout this entire review, I've been neglecting to say this, but let me get this out of the way. Unlike any other fighting game where you have to drain your opponent's meter down to 0, for this one, everyone has a percentage meter. Once it hits over 100, you can either knock them off the stage or blast them to the sky! Also, that so-called star finish looks familiar.
Looks like Team Rocket's wiping on the game!
Holy shit! Eat your heart out, Team Rocket! You only have a limited amount of options to do for multiplayer, like free-for-all, team battle, and stock matches. Stock matches are more interesting because it's all about the last man standing instead of a timed match to see who won the match at the end. The stages are based off of the characters' games, and the only ones I like are Peach's Castle, Saffron City, Hyrule Castle, Congo Jungle, and of course Dreamland. Surprisingly, it turns out everyone loves this stage. I wonder why. However, if you're patient enough, you'll also get introduced to the Mushroom Kingdom, which is the only unlockable stage in the entire game, showing that Mario is the mascot of Nintendo, or maybe he must be a fan hog. Another thing that is a staple in the series are items. Most of the items come from other Nintendo franchises, but there's a handful of items that are made just for this game. For instance, the Homer Bat is a one-hit knockout. Well, I know it needs to charge, but once activated, goodbye opponent. The bumper has the Smash Bros. Logo, and it will be one of the items that will be a staple in the game. The Pokeball is my personal favorite out of all the items. It's kind of like an Easter egg, you'll never know what you get. Same thing like in Saffron City when that little chamber pops out a random Pokemon. The only item I feared for are the Bob-Bombs. you better not let them start walking because one fatal touch knocks you out. That is if you're at the percentage point. All the other items will carry on throughout the entire franchise, for better or for worse. Do I have to say something about the music? I love it, I love it, I love it! They might be remixes of famous songs from various Nintendo franchises, but I had to say it works perfect for this game. Especially my favorite, the remade version of the Super Mario Bros. Theme that is used in Peach's Castle. You also get some bit of bonuses like the sound test, character bios, match stats, and an options menu where you can physically destroy your saved data just to start back from square one. And that's it. Not much to say. There's a little bit of content which I had to remind you that there was supposed to be more than this, but it got scrapped and saved for future installments. For instance, did you know that Peach, Bowser, Pit, King Dedede, Meowth, and even Mewtwo, fucking Mewtwo, was supposed to be in this game? Yeah, but I thought I was kidding myself. Even though this game has so little content, I still consider the original Smash Bros. On the Nintendo 64 a great start to the franchise. It brought a new light to the fighting game genre, and everyone loves a breath of fresh air. With the characters we got, it's fine to consider that this will be the original roster of the franchise, especially Jigglypuff. Seriously, I will not like you. Well, if you're a fan of fighting games, and if you love Super Smash Bros., you should check out the original game on the N64 to see how the franchise started. However, if you don't have an N64, get it on the Virtual Console. This is a game I recommend to play with friends around. Just be prepared for the madness to come. Now that the series got its feet wet from its start in 1999, that didn't stop Nintendo and HAL Laboratory to make a sequel to its upcoming Nintendo console, and at the time was the Nintendo GameCube with Super Smash Bros. Melee. So, that'll be for another time, and... Shit the fuck? Mario already? I guess that's what happens when you play a lot of Super Smash Brothers. Wait a minute. That means today is November 21st. You know what that means? I gotta get to GameStop and fast!